Let's see, geometry, review 1 through 85, part 3. We're picking up where the other class left off. Question number 25, it says for an art project, Anna needs to spray paint a soup can on all sides, including the bases. The can is 7 inches tall, it has a radius of 4 inches. Find the area to be painted to the nearest square inch. Now, they've already helped us out. They determined a couple of things. One, a soup can is a cylinder, right? You have to start there, all right, with what three-dimensional figure you're actually working with, because different three-dimensional figures use different formulas. The next thing we have to determine is what are we actually trying to solve for if we're spray painting a can on all sides? Well, that's not lateral area, right? Lateral area would be like, what's the area of the label? But this is surface area. And so once I know that I'm using the surface area of a cylinder, then I can go about what formula I'm actually going to use. So surface area actually takes lateral area, which is perimeter, the perimeter of that soup can times my height, which is giving me that label, and then it's adding the top and the bottom. Well, the top and the bottom of a cylinder, those two parallel sides, are both circles, right? So that's why I have 2 pi r squared, because pi r squared is area of a circle. So if you understand what surface area is and you understand what a cylinder is, then you can have an understanding of why this formula works. And if I understand why the formula works, I have a better chance of actually remembering without having to try to necessarily memorize the formula. Do you understand? Okay? If I understand why it works, then I don't have to work so hard to memorize. All right? So from here, once I know the formula, all I have to do is go back through and look at the information and start plugging data in to different things. Well, we know we have 2, we know we have pi. The next thing I need is my radius. What is my radius? Read the question. 4, okay? 4. What is my height? 7. Now, what do I want to be careful with here? No, right, not to confuse it with 47. So either use parentheses to show multiplication or put an actual multiplication symbol in there like a dot. All right, plus 2 pi, we established that the radius was 4 squared. And what I highly suggest you doing is leaving everything in terms of pi until the very last, after we've combined all of our terms. So 4 times 7 is 28, 28 times 2 is 56, is that correct? So we should get 56 pi in terms of our lateral area. Then we have 4 squared. 4 squared is 16 times 2 is 32. So I wind up with 56 pi plus 32 pi. And the handy thing about that is that they are like terms. So I can actually add 56 and 32 and get something like 88. 88 pi. Now, this is where I'm going to say go. It says find it to the nearest square inch, which means I need to actually use either 3.14 or the pi symbol to get an actual decimal answer. So what does 88 pi equal? 276. Is that what you said? And because to the nearest square inch, so we've rounded it up. What was it before that? Okay, so we ended up rounding it down. So we were at inches squared. 276 inches squared. Okay, do we understand this? Okay. All right, because we finished off from there, if we want to have a little bit more fun with this, we can go to the game show host section of our review. I've got to change the whole voiceover. Number 26, ABCD is an isosceles trapezoid with segment AB congruent to segment CD. BY equals 10.3 and AC is 17.2. Find YD. All right, so we're dealing with the trapezoid. All right, what's the first thing that we should do with the information that's given? What's that? Write it on our actual illustration. All right, BY is 10.3. AC is 17.2. Find YD. What are we going to do, class? Brady. He says 17.2 minus 10.3. What is 17.2 minus 10.3? 6.9. Erica, just because Zamir was sitting in that seat earlier and I automatically look at that position as somebody who's going to scroll down to the bottom and check that answer, is 6.9 correct? Excellent. 6.9 is our answer. All right, so we understand that much? Okay, great. I don't know if I can pull up the game show host voice all hour. Question number 27. In the diagram shown below, AC and DF are tangents to circles P and Q. AB is 3, 6 plus 2. BC is 5x minus 2. BD is x plus 8. And BF equals 8x minus 11. We want to find the lengths of AB, BC, BD, and BF. Well, just like in the last question, what might we want to do before we begin? Actually, put those things on our illustration. AB is 3x plus 2. BC is 5x minus 2. BD is x plus 8. And BF is 8x minus 11. All right, Darian. What would we do to begin solving for x? Say that again. X plus 8 down here with the BD. So he said take x plus 8 and plus 3x minus plus 8x minus 11. And you're just going to add those up. Can I ask a quick question? Why are we adding these? That's not ultimately going to get us where we want to go. All right, so I'm going to stop us there. Okay, but that is something that we might try to do. Okay, Erica, what do you think? Set what equal to each other? (8x plus 2) equals, you said 5x minus 2? Is that what you said? You are even closer than Darian was, but still wrong. X plus 8. Okay? What we should realize, and I think maybe I put in a kind of a red herring. You notice that I used blue and blue, red and red, giving us an assumption, okay, that maybe blue was equal to blue and red was equal to red. All right? That is incorrect. All right? For one, we ought to be able to see visually that AB is shorter than BC. Is that correct? Okay. One of the rules that we have is that if I have two tangent lines external to a circle, that the point that they come back to is going to end up making an equidistance between those two tangents. So AB is equal to BD. Okay? Also, BF is equal to BC. Okay, so you're on the right track with equal. Okay, we just had it equal to the wrong thing. All right, here we can begin to move things across and solve for x. Okay, Casey, what would you do here to solve for x? Subtract the x. Okay, anywhere else? Subtract the 2. Okay, the terminology we want to hear is what, class? On both sides. And you probably meant that, but we just needed to get there. Negative x minus 2. All right, so what's 3x minus x? So we got 2x. What's 8 minus 2? 6. What does x equal? 3. Oh, man, we can move on with life now, correct? Let's go ahead and scroll down. We'll get 27. Was 3 the answer for 27? No. All right, but if this question was on a test, because it's going to end up being just a list of solutions, then I might just leave it as one where you would just type it in. No multiple choice answers available. Or if you did see this as a multiple choice question, you would see 3 as an option. Okay? Why is this not the answer? Brady?
Because it didn't say 5x, it said on the
Right. We needed to find the links, but we did need to find x in order to find those links, correct? Okay. So, what is AB? What am I doing to find AB? 3 times 3 plus 2. 3 times 3 is plus 2, 11. Now, because we already know that BD is equal to AB, do I need to plug 3 into BD? I do not. We automatically know it is 11, and it's pretty quick to see that 3 plus 8 is 11. Let's get BF. BF is 8 times 3 minus 11. What's 8 times 3? 24. 24 minus 11? 13. And we already know that BC, if we've done this right, is also what? 13. Okay? So if we see this question, I need to wind up with 2 segments that are equal to the same ultimate values. If I wound up with 4 different values here, I've done something wrong. Okay? Moving on to number 28. Let's see where that takes us. Number 28. Write the equation of a circle with center M being -4, +6, and a radius of 8. All right, can anybody tell me, just ignoring the values that are up here, what is the general or what is the standard form of the equation of a circle? Minus h squared. Yeah, we could say r squared. Yeah. All right, so let's take this information, all right, and let's put it in here. So I should get x what? Plus 4. Very good. Okay, because both h and k in our standard form of the equation represent positive h's and positive k's for the center of the circle, correct? All right, so if it's already negative, it's going to go into our equation as a positive. All right, y what? -6 equals what? Either 8 squared or 64. Either 8 squared or 64. Either one of those is acceptable. Okay? Does that make sense? Very good. What's the answer at the bottom? I'm kind of interested to see if they go 8 squared or 64. They go 64. That's fine. You will see a mix of both possibilities. Okay? Chances are on something like this, just because you're going to have a difficult time putting a squared in. Usually a question like this is, unless I figure out something different or Google Forms ends up becoming a little bit more math user friendly, a question like this will probably always be multiple choice. Okay? But let's say if this was in our homework, right? Which one am I going to prefer? If the answer key said 64, would I accept 8 squared? Absolutely, every time. Okay? Okay, number 29. Okay, let's see. This should go back to even an earlier question. Actually, no, this one's a little bit different. I'm sorry. 2 of the muscles that control the movement, that control eye movement, are attached to the eyeball. That's not gross. And intersect behind the eye as shown. If measure arc ABF is 300 degrees, what is the measure angle of ADF? We are looking for the measure of that angle right there. Okay, Brady again. You take 300 divided by 2? Okay, we're close, but we're missing an ingredient. We are going to take 300, and we will divide by 2, but we're missing something. He's got the major arc minus the minor arc. Minus the minor arc. Do we have any idea what the minor arc is? 60. Okay, it doesn't always work out just like that, but in this case it does because we're using the entire circle. We don't always use the entire circle, but because they're tangent to the circle, right, we will. So 300 minus 60 should be 240. 240 divided by 2, 120 degrees. Now, we know that it doesn't look like 120 degrees because 120 degrees is obtuse. That doesn't look obtuse, but we're not going based upon appearance. Okay? All right, 120 degrees. All right, number 30. We want to find the surface area of a sphere with volume 972 pi meters cubed. Give your answer in terms of pi. This is a really good question. The other class got one somewhat similar to it where they were trying to solve diameter given a certain volume. We are going to find surface area. In either case, what do I need to solve for first? Let's start here. What is the formula for the volume of a sphere? Volume. How many dimensions do we have when we talk about volume? 4. Okay. So Mariah's telling me 4/3. Pi r cubed. That is the volume of a sphere. Very good. Thank you so much. All right. Do we know what the volume of this particular sphere is? 972 pi. Where would I plug that information in? Am I going to plug that in for pi, r, or v? V. Very good. All right. So we're going to write in over here 972 pi. We know that 972 pi equals 4/3 pi r cubed. So I'm going to go back to my earlier question. What am I going to begin to solve for? R. That is correct. All right, if we want to solve for r, that means that we have to isolate r. How do I begin to isolate r? That means I have to move everything else away from it. Okay? What do we want to move away from r? 4/3. Perfect. Thank you so much. He said that we're going to begin by multiplying by 3/4. Even though this is all multiplication through here, and our natural inclination is if we have multiplication on one side, we're going to undo that through division. I cannot divide by a fraction, but I can, in fact, multiply by the reciprocal of that fraction. So we are going to multiply by 3/4 on both sides. Okay? So that will effectively, because 4 times 3 is 12, 3 times 4 is 12, 12 divided by 12 is 1. That cancels out the fraction on the right-hand side. Am I talking too fast? Okay, so we cancel that out. What is 972 times 3 divided by 4? Calculators are out. People are punching, thinking. 229. So what we're left with over here is 229 pi equals pi r cubed. Right? What's left to get rid of over here? Pi. How do I get rid of pi? Divide by pi, right? Divide by pi, divide by pi. All right, well, what's pi divided by pi?
I think it's 729.
Is it 729? Oh, did I just hear it wrong? I probably just heard it wrong. I apologize. What is pi divided by pi? It just cancels out because anything divided by itself is 1, and that's not necessary when talking about multiplication, right? So that cancels out pi, which if you listen to the last video, it's really sad. It makes me cry anytime we have to get rid of pi. All right, 729 equals r cubed. What's the last thing I need to get rid of? Square root, no. The cubed root, the cubed root. We're going to get rid of the cube by cube rooting both sides. All right, now you do have a nice little math function that allows you to cube root. Okay, so what is the cube root of 729? 9 equals r, or r equals 9. Now, that was a lot of work, and we would assume that at this point we would be done. Would we be correct in assuming that we would be done? No. All right, in fact, because they ask us, what is the surface area? I cannot find the surface area of a sphere without the radius. So we need the surface area formula of a sphere. What is that? It actually looks very similar to the volume with 2 changes. 4 pi r squared. So we change r cubed to r squared, and we get rid of the divide by 3, right? And we're left with surface area. For that, We leave our 4, we leave our pi. Do we know our radius? 9 squared. So we know that 9 squared is 81. What's 81 times 4? 324. And we're going to take 324 times, actually we're going to leave it in terms of pi, aren't we? Okay. Our answer is 324 pi meters. Is it cubed or squared? Squared, because we're looking for area. Erica, check that bottom of the page and see if we are correct. She's nodding her head up and down, giving me the affirmative that we have done this correctly. Okay? So, you can tell, hopefully by looking at this, that there are formulas that we want to be aware of. Okay? Work on. All right, number 33. I don't remember how many questions are in here. Oh, did we skip some? We skipped question 31, didn't we? Or no, we haven't. We haven't skipped it. We just need to do it. Solve the system of equations algebraically. Now, there's always several different ways to solve these. Okay? How might we go about solving this particular question, given that both right, and that works out really handy because they're both equal to y, correct? Because they're both equal to y, it means they're equal to the same thing, which means they can be set equal to each other. Do we need to write 4x? Do we need the 0? All right, we could just write 4x, correct? All right. Now, if I'm trying to solve for x, that means I'm trying to get x by itself. If we did put plus 0 in here, right, it might still make our life a little easier because what can I do with the 4x? Subtract it over, where if I didn't, I wouldn't really want to do that, right? And then we would subtract 6 to this side, correct? All right, so what's 10x minus 4? 6x equals what? Negative 6, so x equals what? Negative 1. Negative 1. And because we're trying to solve the system, what do I still need to solve for? Y. Okay, so the really easy one to plug this in for is this equation right here. What's 4 times negative 1? Well, what's negative 4 plus 0? Negative 4, so y should equal negative 4. Okay, we could test our answer just to see if it does come out the same. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4, which means if I plug in negative 1 up here, 10 times negative 1 is negative 10. Negative 10 plus 6 is still negative 4. Are they equal to each other? Yes, they are. All right, so we get negative 1, negative 4. We understand this so far? Again, hopefully I'm not talking too quickly. All right, 30 dos. American Spanish. 30 dos. A 35-foot telephone pole casts a 46-foot shadow on the ground while the sun is shining to the nearest degree. What is the angle of elevation theta of the sun from the end of the shadow? Okay? We want to know what is this angle right here. All right, do we use trig functions or do we use inverse trig functions when trying to find an angle? Inverse trig functions. Okay, but the trig functions still operate the same way. What is sine? Sine is what? Okay, just as a review, let's go back through our trig functions so we remember what they are. Sine is what over what? Opposite over hypotenuse. Very good, Mick. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent is opposite over adjacent. We got a lot of people involved on that one. All right, we should remember these as SO, CA, and TOA. Sine equals opposite over hypotenuse, cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse, and is opposite over adjacent. If you do not have this written down, you should, okay? Because I will have no pity on you come test day if you get the wrong trig function simply because you can't remember what the ratio is. Now, if we're trying to find theta, we're looking at what is 35 and what is 46 in relation to our angle. What is 35 in relation to my angle? Is it opposite. And what is 46 in relation to my angle? Adjacent. So which trig function should I use? Tangent. And am I using tangent or inverse tangent? inverse tangent, and I'm going to multiply that by what? 35 over 46. You all are sitting there with handy dandy calculators. Tell me what inverse tangent 35 over 46 is. 37.27 degrees. It says to the nearest degree, so what am I going to write? 37 degrees. All right, Erica's going to check the bottom of the page and tell me, is the answer 37 degrees? She's nodding her head up and down. We got it right. Very good. All right, let's come over to 33. A private airplane travels due north at 135 miles per hour. There's a 25-mile-an-hour wind blowing due west. What is the airplane's actual speed? If necessary, round your answer to the nearest tenth. This is using vectors. Okay, what we are looking for is essentially this, which now that makes that look like a what? A right triangle. And what does the blue line appear to be in that right triangle? How would I solve the hypotenuse? Which in this case is going to involve doing what? Very good. 25 squared, I believe, is 625. Am I correct? 625. I don't believe I know 135 squared off the top of my head. It seems like it's going to be pretty big. 18,000, I caught that. 225 equals c squared. Let's go ahead and take that and add those two numbers together. 18,850. Okay, 18,850 equals c squared. What's our last step involved? Square rooting 0.3. And very good, you guys already rounded it to the nearest tenth. Let's check that answer. She's nodding her head. 137.3 miles per hour. All right, can we do this? All right, hopefully we're going to be able to look at that, determine what it is that we need to do. Okay? All right, last question, and then we are all done. We only have 3 minutes left. No, wait, we got more time than that. I always assume we get out at 36 in here. Because I think, it's the next hour that gets out at like 10:36? Always messes with me. Okay. All right. On a sketch of a mural, 3 inches represents 1 foot. The door in the sketch is 2 inches wide by 5 inches high. What is the perimeter of the door in the mural expressed in inches? All right, let's think about this for a second. Our scale factor is 3 inches to what? 1 foot. All right, could I convert this to inches? So it would be 3 inches to what? 12 inches. All right, because what we're trying to do here is we're going to get a scale factor, and because it wants our final answer in inches, we're going to go ahead and convert everything over to inches. Does 3 inches to 12 inches, does that reduce? 1/4. So 1 inch in the sketch equals 4 inches in the picture. All right, now the relationship of scale factor to perimeter, is it 1-to-1 or do I have to square things? Perimeter to scale factor. Let me ask you this question. Whenever we're talking about scale factor to area, do I have to square the scale factor? Yeah, because it's area, it's squared, right? If we were talking about scale factor to volume, we'd have to cube our scale factor, right? So because we are 1-to-4, right, and it's perimeter, I don't have to change it. Right? Perimeter is going to end up as the same as the scale factor. Now what I do need to do is I do need to find the perimeter of the sketch door. Okay, so let's make a sketch door. How wide is it? 2 inches. How tall is it? 5 inches. Can anybody tell me what the perimeter of that door is going to be? No. Perimeter. So I got 5, 2 and 2. 5 plus 5 is 10. 2 plus 2 is 4. 10 plus 4 is 14. Am I going to put that on the top or the bottom of my proportion? Top. Okay? Because, right, this up here is my sketch, which is small. This down here is my mural, which is big, right? So we're going to do this right here. How do I go about solving that proportion? 4 times 14 by 1, which I don't really need to divide by 1. What do we get? 56. All right, so we're saying that x equals 56 inches is the perimeter of the door in the mural. Eric is checking the answer right now. Beep, boop, boop, boop. She says it's right. Okay, 56 inches. We're all done. This has been video number 3. You guys have a test on Monday. I really don't like giving a test on a Monday, but does that give you guys more time to watch through these 3 videos, right? Study, listen, watch, take notes, work things out, email me questions, okay, those types of things. They have to be pertaining to the review, not just random things, okay? Don't have that much time. And we will end the video right